World leaders have gathered for the 29th Conference of Party here in Baku, Azerbaijan, to critically emphasize the need to accelerate climate justice. But the talks of if these negotiations are going in the right direction for the environment and for the climate, it's on the lips of so many participants here in Baku. And we've been discussing with people on the streets of COP29 to know their conversations, if their conversations around the COP is going as planned. And today, which is the final day here in COP29, we will be discussing with different participants to know their diverse views of what is going on in negotiation rooms and what they think about COP29 that is coming to an end. Let's go.
First and foremost, a little bit disappointed with the amount of lobbyists that are here. I hear there are about 1,700 of them here. It also means that they are going as far as trying to lobby the directions of the decisions of this particular outcome, and which also in turn reduces the powers or the outcomes of civil society actions, and also what we actually desire to get out of this particular finance COP. And also the fact that during some side events we were not allowed to use certain words, which we actually insisted and went forward to use it. But it's beginning to be as if they are reducing the space for civil society to get engaged and increasing the space for the multinationals and the polluters to keep dictating the pace on how climate negotiations should go on. However, if this trend continues, it's going to spell doom for every climate communication and every climate negotiation. But going forward, what I will call the road to Belém, going forward to Belém 2025 in Brazil, I think I look forward to a more robust people's activities in Belém. I look forward to what I call the conference of people rather than a conference of party in Belém. And I believe that going forward in Belém, we'll have more robust and more active participation of civil society, irrespective of any attempt or group of attempts or to reduce the space or shrink the activities of civil society in every negotiation.
So COP29, it was actually my very first, and I think it is very interesting because of the theme, financing. There is no way we can do anything about climate crisis, especially for the people that are hardly hit. We can't really do much about it if the financial systems are not there. And so COP29 gives us an opportunity for us to see how we can make or how we can benefit those who are suffering or those who are being bit by this climate crisis. How are we going to benefit from these finances? I think it is interesting. I think the necessary questions are coming up. The discussions that are interesting are coming up. The topics are coming up. People are going to think about it when they go back. And then when we go to Brazil, we're going to see how we have leapfrogged from where we were before COP29 to that stage, because people would have been able to access some funds and would have been able to do some work on it on the ground.
The COP space is becoming more and more hostile. The COP space is becoming more and more restrictive, especially for communities. It's becoming more restrictive for the grassroots. For instance, how can you tell me not to mention the names of communities that are impacted, that are severely impacted by exploration activities, that are severely impacted by the climate crisis that we're talking about? How can you say that I should not mention the names while carrying out actions? I think that is a way to ensure that they box community voices and put them to one side while they continue to delay with the certain negotiations that they are having. So it is my wish that this COP gets serious to take the needed actions that is urgent as we speak. As we head to Brazil for COP30, we just hope that it does not become another polluted COP. We hope that the indigenous voices will matter. We hope that voices from the communities will count, and the solutions that we yearn for, which are real climate solutions and not false solutions, will prevail at the COP.
So COP29, like all the other previous COPs, is definitely another disappointment. From the first day, we saw the bulldozing of the Article 6 provisions. Carbon markets is something that is being pushed here. Climate finance is going down. There's no real commitments from the global north. Mitigation adaptation measures are also hogwash that is happening here. So I don't expect anything to come out of this. But what is really encouraging me is the solidarity and the commitment of climate justice allies that are standing together to demand for real and true solutions in these COPs. They're demanding that the climate finance is pushed. They're demanding for cancellation of the climate date. And that is what is really encouraging me at this COP. And I'm very privileged to come and stand in solidarity with the rest of the global climate justice allies here.
As a youth, this experience at COP29 has been unique, has been interesting. I've seen a bit of an attempt to include youth discussion in the general scope of things, but I don't think that it has been sufficient enough. I think really that youth voices have to be taken more serious and not just used casually or used loosely, but really I think much more has to be done. I know, yes, they have made a bit of progress on that, involving youths and having youth's voices, but I think more still has to be done. And I hope at COP30 really youth will really be the focus, because to be sincere, we are the future and it's not tomorrow, it's actually today. So it's important for them to pay attention and really take us serious. We have ideas, we have many things to suggest, we have many opinions and many things that don't sit well with us at the moment and we really need to address. So we think that youth voices very, very important, and we hope that at COP30 our voices will be heard even more.
For me, COP29 has been, sorry to say, a failure, because it's been called the finance COP, but so far it hasn't been, there's not been even one deal, not even one commitment. No finance has been released to the global south, and that's a terrible, terrible shame. And right now we hear that there's stalemate. No more negotiations are happening because they have been unable to come to a conclusion, which is very sad for the global south, and it's very sad for Africa, especially in these times where we need climate finance not as loans but as historical debts that is owed to the global south.
29 years of COP, and I've attended quite a few of them. I've seen from experience that the COP is moving in the wrong direction every year. We had a little hope that this COP may bring some optimism, but this COP is moving at a very flat level in the areas it's moving at all. We've seen that in this COP, more than ever before, the powerful nations, the polluting nations, and corporations are doing all they can to diffuse the discussions, to make the discussion lack focus. They're also doing all they can to ensure that everything is complicated and that solutions are not reached at. Look at the issue of finance. Everyone knows that climate problems have been created by rich polluting nations. Now they've completely refused to take responsibility. Last year, loss and damage was adopted and operationalized. Now, but the funding is neither here nor there. Then rather than pushing that forward, rather than talking more clearly about climate finance with a sense of accountability and responsibility, this year a new thing came up, the new collective quantitative goals, which in a sense is saying that we should not only give funding we should not just say, okay, give funding to poor, vulnerable nations, but we should make them also contribute to the funding. And some countries like China that have been consistently included amongst the group of vulnerable nations is now being pressured to move over, without moving over to next one, so to speak, countries to move into the league of those who created the problems. It's almost like, say, if they don't contribute to the funding, then those who have created the problem would not contribute to it. So the COP is really a very complicated arena for geopolitical exercises. The powerful nations do all they can to avoid responsibility. And going to Brazil, COP30 in Belém, it's difficult to see whether things will move really in a dramatically different direction. Whether the poor, vulnerable nations will receive attention they need. Now, poor nations who never created the problem are asking for $5 trillion a year as climate debt. In fact, the African group is actually asking for $1.3 trillion per year. Now, would that materialize in Brazil? We don't know. We hope it does. But with the old target of 100 billion that was never achieved, it's difficult to see how we're going to have 1.3 or $5 trillion. So the tendency to go in the wrong direction may continue to Brazil. And so it would mean that if we want to see that change, the change in the right direction, where climate debt will be recognized, where those who are most impacted would be given a chance to breathe, to stay above the flood, where they will get access to appropriate technology and appropriate finance, then these same nations in Africa, in Latin America, and Asia have to come together before the COP to plan and strategize on how to go forward. We need the voices of the victims to be heard, and they should be in the driving seat of the negotiations. Climate finance is not charity. It is a responsibility which is included in the common but differentiated responsibility principle, which is the bedrock of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We have to go back to the justice platform and not pretend that some people did not create the problems.
And you have heard the views of many participants on the streets of COP29, how they see that COP29 didn't meet the expectations of so many. For some, it's their first COP. For some, it's the 15th and 20th time. For some, it's even the 29th time. And they are concerned that the issues around COP keeps going down, that negotiations around climate justice, it's not being done. Climate finance is taking the round, but will it go round to the global south? These are many more issues you've heard from participants here in Baku. And we do hope that when we see again in COP30 in Brazil, the issues will be different from what we've heard today. From Baku in Azerbaijan, I am Kome Odomo for HOMEF TV.